You must understand something subtle, something that exists beneath logic and explanation. Women do not need a man to analyze them, fix them, or study them like a subject. They are not searching for a therapist or an interpreter of their emotions. What they crave is presence, a calm intensity, a quiet inner power that shifts their emotional balance without asking permission. A woman does not fall for the most attractive man in the room, nor the man with perfect manners or flawless intelligence. Attraction does not grow in perfection. It awakens in the space where she feels something she cannot fully explain, something that gently disturbs her emotional stillness, something that makes her feel deeply noticed, in a way that dissolves her control. Attachment is not born from kindness alone. It is not created by consistency or constant affection. It forms through impact, through the invisible way. A man reshapes her inner world without force, not through words but through silence, through timing, through attention that feels reflective, sharp, and impossible to ignore. And here is the paradox: he is not trying. The moment effort becomes visible, the effect weakens. Big gestures often fail because they carry the scent of need disguised as romance. But small, effortless signals, subtle, almost unintentional, hold real power. True attachment is built from microscopic moments her nervous system records before her thoughts can catch up. A glance that lingers just a second longer, a pause before answering, a tone that carries depth she has never felt before. Her body notices first, her mind follows later. When a woman becomes attached, it is not a choice, it is not a plan. It is a biological surrender. Her emotional system, ancient and intuitive, detects a pattern. It whispers, "This man understands me. This man sees me not as a role, not as an idea, but as a living mystery." She does not choose that connection. She remembers it. Somewhere deep inside it feels familiar, like a quiet recognition of the soul. He becomes more than a man. He becomes a symbol, a mirror of something she has always felt but never named. This has nothing to do with compliments or poetic speech. It is not performed, it is felt. It moves through energy, through presence, through a language older than words. Invisible actions awaken deep emotional circuits connected to trust, desire, and belonging. This is the paradox of attraction. It cannot be forced or explained. It happens when one presence recognizes another without logic. When he does not chase her, yet she feels him everywhere. That is where attachment begins, not with affection, but with impact, not with pursuit, but with presence, not with effort, but with essence. Now understand the first truth, the delicate structure of emotional attachment. It lives between desire and safety, between uncertainty and grounding. A woman becomes attached not when she feels completely secure, and not when she feels completely unsure, but when she exists at the edge of both. Break her predictability without breaking her sense of safety. That is the art. Total predictability dulls emotion. Routine puts the soul to sleep. But chaos alone triggers defense. It forces analysis, and analysis kills attraction. In the narrow space between mystery and stability, something powerful forms, not lust, not affection, something older and quieter. Her emotional gravity begins to orbit you. Most men miss this. They become either too safe or too erratic, too transparent or too unstable. They try to win attention instead of interrupting it, because attention is not conquered, it is disrupted. That disruption is subtle. It happens when her emotional rhythm stumbles for a moment, when expectations pause, and suddenly her focus tilts toward you. This is not manipulation, it is presence with intention. When you act from your own inner alignment, not from approval seeking, your words feel grounded, your silence carries weight, You do not speak to impress. You speak because it feels true. That alignment breaks her unconscious sense of control, because she wants to understand the man she desires. She wants to decode him. And when she cannot fully predict you, not because you are inconsistent, but because you are self-directed, curiosity becomes desire. Desire becomes focus. Focus becomes emotional attachment. Her mind enters a loop, a quiet, repeating question. What is he thinking? Why does he feel different? Why can't I forget him? This loop is the birth of attachment, not through confession, but through rhythm, not through reassurance, but through tension between knowing and not knowing. You give her stability to trust and mystery to explore. That balance awakens her emotional nature. She begins to feel grounded and alert, safe and curious. She does not depend on you. She resonates with you. You are not playing games. You are creating gravity. You are not distant. You are sovereign. She returns not because you are always present, but because your absence echoes. You no longer exist in her schedule. You exist in her system. That is true attachment. And now that you understand how to break predictability without breaking safety, prepare for the second principle. Because the next level does not enter her thoughts. It enters her senses. Attachment does not grow from words. It grows from experience. From what her body remembers when you are near. Words fade, objects lose meaning, but sensations remain. Because the body does not store logic, it stores memory, and it remembers everything. She remembers the sound of your voice, low, calm, certain. She remembers the deliberate way you move, never rushed, never aimless. She remembers your silence, not as emptiness, but as control. The way your eyes hold hers steady and unafraid until her breathing changes without her understanding why. In that moment, something ancient activates in her nervous system. A quiet signal that says, "This man is safe, and he is strong." And that realization begins to store you inside her body's memory. Because the female body does not remember explanations, it remembers experiences. It does not remember words, it remembers sensations. The subtle electricity between breaths, the unspoken rhythm beneath presence. Every time you remain calm, composed, deliberate, you are training her nervous system to respond to your frequency. You stop being a man she listens to and become a feeling she experiences. Most men overcompensate. They chase connection with noise. They talk too much, move too fast, explain too often. They try to prove their worth through effort, not realizing that effort is often the language of insecurity. Their presence becomes loud but empty. The man who understands attachment moves differently. He doesn't seduce. He creates atmosphere. He knows emotion is not verbal, it is spatial. Attraction is not born in what is said, but in what is felt between words. He knows how to fill silence with energy instead of sound. When he enters a room, he doesn't announce himself. The air shifts quietly around him. Not because he tries to dominate it, but because his energy is grounded, rooted, deliberate. His stillness carries weight. His calm feels ancient, like the earth before a storm. Stillness is not emptiness, it is contained power. A silence filled with awareness, the kind that changes how others breathe without knowing why. When he speaks, he does not rush. He allows pauses to exist. His voice arrives slowly, low, calm, intentional. The silence before and after his words gives them gravity. Every word lands, not because it is loud, but because it is present. And something shifts inside her body. Her breathing slows, then deepens. Her thoughts soften. Her body enters a state of alert calm. She feels safe, yet awake. Relaxed, yet aware. Not desire, not comfort. Emotional gravity. That rare field where her instincts feel grounded and stirred at the same time. Her subconscious begins recording everything. Your tone, your rhythm, your stillness, the temperature of your silence. Without realizing it, she anchors these sensations to you. Each time you return, her body reactivates the same signals, the same calm, the same curiosity, the same quiet recognition. Your presence becomes a trigger. Her nervous system remembers a silent message. I am safe here, but something could happen. That paradox, safety mixed with anticipation, is the foundation of attachment. Her body learns your rhythm like music. When you are near, her energy expands. When you leave, it contracts. She feels your absence not as emptiness, but as incompleteness. Her body literally feels less. That is where unconscious attachment is born, not through manipulation, but through consistency of energy. Her physiology begins to synchronize with yours. Her breathing adjusts, her pulse adapts, her awareness orbits your gravity. You become a pattern inside her, an imprint, the emotional environment her body trusts, and the mystery her mind keeps chasing. Understand this clearly. She does not miss your words, she misses who she becomes around you. You have become a mirror for her higher emotional state, a state she only reaches in your presence. That is real connection, not wanting you, but wanting the version of herself that awakens near you. This is not control. It is resonance, not seduction, synchronization. And it only works when your calm is real, when your silence has intention, when your stillness has roots. So hold your energy like a steady flame. Let your presence speak. Because in real attraction, it is not your words that are remembered. It is how her body felt in your gravity. That feeling becomes memory. That memory becomes attachment, and once formed, it never fully disappears. Emotion is born from contrast. When warmth leaves, we feel cold. When presence fades, silence sharpens. That contrast plants the first seed of need. Need is not weakness, it is the nervous system recognizing significance. When she feels the emptiness you leave behind, that emptiness becomes proof of your impact. Understand this. You are not trying to please her, you are teaching her body to recognize your presence as intensity. You are not offering comfort, you are offering contrast. Because without contrast, emotion dies. The world feels quieter when you are gone, more alive when you return. That rise and fall, absence followed by presence, becomes her internal evidence that you matter. The man who understands this does not chase emotions. He designs rhythm. Because the mind does not fall in love with people. It falls in love with states. And he becomes the state she cannot recreate without him. You are not competing with other men. You are competing with her own chemistry. When your presence triggers depth, calm, and excitement together, you stop being just a man. You become an experience, a memory her body wants to relive. And once her body remembers you, her mind will always find reasons to return. She may explain it, justify it, rationalize it, but beneath every reason is one truth. Her nervous system learned your frequency, and it seeks balance through your presence. Now that you understand how emotion is shaped through sensation, you must learn to shape the space of your absence. Because the next stage of attachment is not about being there. It is about what happens when you are not. when your silence becomes the loudest thing in her thoughts. This brings us to the third principle, the art of rhythm. Nothing builds attachment deeper than rhythm, not constant attention, not complete disappearance, but deliberate appearance and retreat, expansion and contraction, approach and release. This mirrors the heartbeat itself. It is how life sustains energy and how desire stays alive. In psychology, this is called variable reinforcement, the same mechanism behind obsession with uncertainty. The brain stays engaged not because reward is constant, but because it is unpredictable. A woman's emotional system works the same way. But instead of notifications or signals, her rewards are you. Your timing, your tone, your energy when you return. When a man is always available, dopamine fades. Excitement becomes routine. When he disappears completely, she eventually lets go, not from anger, but from self-protection. The mind cannot attach to what feels gone forever. But when his presence is unpredictable yet secure, rare but charged, her emotional system ignites. She enters that delicate tension between hope and doubt, calm and hunger. And that is where attachment turns into dependence. Curiosity awakens. Anticipation rises quietly beneath her composure. Every pause, every silence, every delay becomes a pulse she feels under her skin. This is emotional alertness. The moment her body and mind begin to move with your absence. Understand this clearly. Intermittence is not disappearance, it is not manipulation, it is breaking routine without breaking trust. Most men fail here. They become predictable, repetitive, emotionally safe to the point of boredom. Their messages arrive on schedule. Their tone seeks comfort, not connection. They confuse consistency with value, not realizing predictability drains emotional voltage. But the man who understands attachment builds his presence like a heartbeat, steady enough to feel, rare enough to miss. He does not perform timing. He lives by rhythm. His responses do not follow expectation, they follow the truth of his own life. He moves when it feels right. He speaks when it feels necessary. And that natural alignment between his energy and his purpose becomes magnetic. His presence is not rare because he withholds it. It is rare because it cannot be mass-produced. It comes from authenticity. A man anchored in his center, driven by purpose, not by approval. And that grounded rhythm, that natural space between his appearances, becomes deeply addictive. She never knows when he will reach out again. But when he does, her entire body reacts, her pulse quickens, her breathing changes. That emotional surge after distance is the body's proof of desire. It is the same neural spark released after longing for something forbidden. A dopamine surge that links pleasure to anticipation. Soon she begins to associate your name, your voice, even your silence with reward. Your absence becomes tension. Your return becomes relief. And that rhythm, the rise and fall of emotional energy, creates attachment stronger than words, stronger than logic. Her mind begins to anticipate you like a beautiful puzzle it cannot solve. She waits for the next message, the next glance, the next unexpected moment that reawakens something inside her. Each appearance becomes a small but powerful dose of emotional chemistry, and her desire for the next one grows. That is why intermittent presence is more powerful than constant attention. Constancy brings comfort. Intermittence creates craving, but craving cannot be faked. It only forms when your rhythm comes from truth. A man living a full life does not need to plan distance. His focus creates it naturally. His silence is not strategy, it is substance. It is the quiet of a man absorbed in something greater than validation. That is what keeps her drawn in. Because a woman's intuition can feel the difference between manipulation and momentum. Manipulation weakens trust. Momentum fuels curiosity. A man rooted in purpose does not need to disappear to feel mysterious. His life already makes him rare. His ambition, his direction, his dedication to growth. These qualities create a kind of scarcity that makes his attention feel valuable. When you master this rhythm, she never knows when the next moment will come, only that when it does, it will matter. Your unpredictability becomes her pattern. Your silence becomes her suspense. Your return becomes her reward. This is how a man stops being just an option. He becomes a biological trigger, a signal her body waits for even when her mind resists it. Now you understand the power of controlled presence, but there is something deeper beneath it. Because what truly binds a woman is not mystery, not rhythm, not timing. It is how safe she feels when her inner world begins to open. And that leads us to the next truth. 4. Make her express herself without feeling judged. One of the most powerful experiences a man can offer a woman is emotional freedom. Not through promises, not through speeches, but through steady presence. The man who creates true attachment does not rush to fix. He does not argue, correct, or interrupt her emotions. He does not chase quick solutions or shallow reassurance. He remains calm, present, grounded. His stillness becomes the space where her emotions begin to settle. His eyes do not seek approval. They do not look for a way to be right. They simply witness. And that kind of witnessing, where patient, grounded, unwavering, slowly softens the armor she has spent years building. Because most women, even strong ones, live in a quiet state of defense. What looks like strength is often protection. Protection from a world that demanded performance instead of presence. Protection from people who wanted her light but not her depth. She learned that vulnerability has a cost, that openness often leads to misunderstanding or distance. So when she meets a man who does not judge, analyze, or try to rescue her, a man who observes with compassion without losing his center, something shifts. It is not dramatic, it is subtle. But her nervous system feels it first. With him, I am safe. Her mind follows gently behind. With him, I can feel without consequence. That moment of safety is where attachment begins, because in the female psyche, emotional safety equals value. She does not bond with the man who fixes her problems. She bonds with the man who can hold her storms without being pulled into them. That is the quiet power of presence, not presence that fills space with noise or dominance, but presence that allows space to exist. He is not trying to control her emotions, he simply refuses to be lost inside them. And in that refusal, she feels held. Because true masculine presence is not resistance, it is rootedness, it is the tree that does not break when the wind howls. The unspoken energy that says, you can be everything you are here, and I will remain steady. When you do not flinch at her emotions, when you do not retreat from her tears or her silence, you become something rare, an emotional mirror. Not one that reflects perfection, but one that reflects truth. A mirror where she finally sees herself without masks, without performance, without fear of judgment. And in that moment, she feels something she cannot explain. He sees me. That recognition does not come through words. It comes through presence. Presence that does not demand, explain, or force, only allows. And in that allowance, her heart begins to trust what her mind still questions. This is how attachment forms, not through effort, not through affection, but through the rare calm of a man who can hold a woman's inner world without trying to shape it. She will remember that feeling long after you are gone. Not the words, the experience of being seen without judgment, being heard without interruption, being understood without explanation. You become not a man, but an emotional place inside her memory, a state of being. A moment where she once felt, I can be myself and still be accepted. She may never say it aloud, but her body will remember it. Because for a woman, that feeling is sacred. Desire fades when satisfied, but emotional safety inside vulnerability creates a bond far deeper than desire. Even if she walks away, part of her will circle back. Not to you as a person, but to how she felt in your presence. Because that feeling is rare. Every man tries to be exciting. Very few learn how to be safe. And safety within the female psyche is the deepest form of attraction. Not loud, not dramatic, quiet, grounded, unshakable. You cannot force it. You cannot talk your way into it. You create it through calm. You maintain it through emotional control. When she is in chaos, she does not need correction. She needs containment. And the man who can hold that without collapsing into it becomes unforgettable. He becomes the still point in her emotional storm. Not the man who entertained her, but the man who made her feel safe enough to exist. Now you are ready for the next level, because what comes next is interest without dependence. How to show desire without losing your sovereignty. How to reach her heart without leaving your center. This is the fifth action, and it will teach you how to express connection from power, not need. So your presence becomes a reward, not a request. Desire does not grow in the soil of need, it dies there. Interest lights the spark, dependence. Music puts it out, because a woman does not connect deeply with the man who worships her. She connects with the man who sees her clearly, completely, but does not need her to feel complete. She senses that energy before a single word is spoken. Music. It flows from your posture, from your tone, from your timing. The unspoken message that says, music. My life is already full, but I choose to share it with you. That message, even when never said aloud, creates something words never can. Emotional value, not obligation, not music pressure. Value, your attention stops feeling like chasing and starts feeling like a gift, something intentional, controlled, and rare. Music. And anything rare becomes valuable. Most men chase. They try to compensate music with effort. They flood her phone with attention, reply too fast, rearrange music their lives just to stay available. They confuse availability with connection, not realizing that constant presence is not devotion, it is emotional emptiness. Because a man who gives without balance is a man disconnected from his own center. His sense of worth depends on her reaction, and that dependence quietly destroys the music tension that first attracted her. But the man who understands emotional gravity moves differently. He does not chase, he chooses. He does not react to every signal. He selects what matches his energy. His restraint is not fear, it is strength. His silence is not lack of interest, it is communication. Because restraint sends one music message louder than words ever could. I could, but I don't need to. And that quiet control is powerful. It tells her subconscious, this man's energy belongs to him. It cannot be pushed, controlled, or taken. When she feels that, her curiosity deepens. She starts wanting not just your attention, music, but your approval, not because she is insecure, but because your focus carries value. This is the paradox of attraction. Music. The less you seek validation, the more validating your presence becomes. Music. You stop being just another voice and become the frequency she starts listening for. Because emotional independence music is magnetic. It creates tension, the cleanest kind, the kind that makes her wonder, music, what keeps him so steady? Why doesn't he chase? And her curiosity becomes the connection. Understand this. Are you music? Do not build desire through constant reassurance. You build it through selective expression. Through moments when your attention feels earned, when your music presence feels significant. When you look at her, she feels it. When you speak, she listens. Not because your words are perfect, but because they carry the calm of a man who speaks to express truth, not to impress. That is what makes your interest strong. Music. It is not need dressed up as effort. It is clarity shown through choice. You could give your time to anyone, but you chose to give it music to her. And that contrast is something her emotions cannot ignore. Because in a world full of men who music give too much, the man who gives with awareness becomes unforgettable. Remember music this. Your goal is never to prove your worth. It is to live it so fully that she feels honored to witness music it. When your life moves with direction, your energy carries purpose. And that purpose is what she trusts. Not words, not charm, but the quiet self-reliance that says, I, music, am complete, and still I choose you. That is the base of real attraction. Music. That is the difference between attention and desire, between effort and magnetism. Music. Between the man who chases her thoughts and the man who calmly lives inside them. Anyone can reach out to her, but you remain present by choice, not by need. And the moment music feels that, everything shifts. Her logic says, he is independent. But her emotions whisper, then why music me? That quiet question starts a loop she cannot escape. Her mind circles around you, trying to understand what music makes her different, what makes her the exception in your calm world. That search triggers curiosity, the chemistry of interest, the pulse of desire. And without realizing it, her mind connects your presence with mystery. You are not feeding her ego, you are feeding her wonder. And wonder lasts far longer than validation. Understand this deeply. When your life is full, your purpose alive, your energy disciplined, you stop seeking emotional fuel from her. Music. Instead, you become fuel to her. Because women do not crave attention, they crave meaning. Music. They want to feel chosen by a man who does not need to choose anyone. You do not show worth by trying. Your composure already shows it. Music. You do not make her feel special through effort. She feels special because your attention is rare. You do not orbit her world. You stand firm in your own, grounded, steady. And that mix, interest without dependence, care without attachment, choice without need. Music awakens something deep inside her. Because on a basic level, a woman does not want to take care of you, she wants to respect you, and respect can only exist where self-sufficiency lives. So when she tests your silence and your peace remains untouched, music, when she pulls back and your focus stays steady, when she feels your confidence comes from music purpose, not approval, you stop being the man who wants her and become the man her mind cannot, music, forget. Your restraint becomes the new reference point. Your calm becomes the new desire. And when your attention finally returns, music, it does not feel normal, it feels earned. This is the paradox. When you stop needing her affection, she starts protecting it. Music. When you stop chasing her validation, she begins seeking music yours. Because deep in the subconscious, value is measured by what you can walk away from. So yes, show interest. Be warm. Be human. Music. Be real, but never be dependent. Never let your presence lose its rarity. Because the moment your attention becomes predictable, your power fades. A man who needs nothing controls everything, not her, but himself. And that is the real secret of emotional strength. Music. Now you see the full structure of attachment.